I remember I went back to my cell. I got on my knees and I prayed to God. I said, God, I don't want to live like this anymore. And I just had this, like, I was done. That I was done moment. So I just fucking gave everything to Mike. I said, give me some commissary. Here's everything. I'm fucking done, dude.
I'm a former Detroit police officer and rode with the 1%er Motorcycle Club. During that time, I was involved in a lot of altercations. I had a gun shoved in my face. The trigger was pulled, and I got a plate under my left eye. I'm Manny Vitale, and this is my story. Hey everybody, how you doing? Welcome to My Fight, Our War. I'm your host, Manny Vitale, and we are at our second home. We are back in Connecticut with all of the amazing people here. And this time, I want to give a shout out to someone very special to me, and that is Coach Tony Morrissey with the Brian Cody Brothers and Sisters Foundation. Just one hell of an amazing person with him and Mimi and his family and all the extended family throughout Connecticut and worldwide that are being touched by their love and commitment to battle addiction. We are going to be joining forces big time with Coach, as well as a lot of the families here in Connecticut and also worldwide. But a special shout out. Thank you, Coach, for everything. And we will be promoting Coach as well as all the other amazing family members as well. Which brings us to today's guest, who is also affiliated with all of that wonderfulness, and Rick. So, Rick, welcome to My Fight, Our War. Thank you so much for coming on. Why don't you first introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about Rick?
What's up, people? Well, Wayne, thank you for having me. It's an honor and a privilege. Coach Tony told me a lot about you, and my life is so busy today. We hear about all these things, and you reached out to me, and we were able to put this together. Mm-hmm. And I've heard great things about you. I researched you a little bit. Just amazing work you're doing in Detroit.
Appreciate it.
And I love Detroit. I love baseball, and I love the Detroit Tigers. And we were talking about Ron LaFleur, mm-hmm. And that's a redemption story.
Yeah, right, yes. Where did he start his baseball? Prison.
Started in prison.
So yeah, man. We and the thing is, with our locations, man, we're all over the place here, Connecticut, and people from all over the United States, all over the world. When we do our lives from my studio in Detroit, we do virtually. So we'll use StreamYard and we do lives, and our links and for our guests. But as we're doing them, we have comments coming in, and OG's running the board for questions or anything that may come in. And we're looking, and people are commenting, and they're like, hey, how you doing? We're reaching out from Ireland. We've got people in our family from New Zealand, wow. South Africa, the Philippines that are doing our show, all different time zones, who, when they see us go live, are chiming in with us. And it's just a wonderful awesome, feeling, dude. Showing that we are making a difference. And it's we can't do this alone. Obviously with Coach, with you, with Anna, all of the incredible people that come on the show and share their stories. And that's why you're here. We definitely need to hear about Rick and, what led you down that road. Most of us who are on this show, we've been touched by addiction. For us personally, because of our choices that we have made. So we've been the ones affected by it because of our use. But other guests who come on have never used drugs, but they've been affected by someone they love, whether husband, wife, brother, sister, family member. And unfortunately, in some cases, they're no longer here. So that's why we're here, to try to prevent that. So why don't we just start off by, hearing your story, man, as far as growing up and stuff. How are things for you?
Yeah. All right, Manny. Thank you for allowing me to share. And
definitely.
It's an honor and a privilege. I'm somebody who's in long-term recovery. 60 years old. Started using when I was about 13, 14. I remember, I think, actually my first use was like 10 years old. I went to this party, got drunk, went home, threw up, and we were at my uncle's house in Delaware, and we were leaving from spending a week there, and I threw up, and I slept with my uncle, and I threw up, and my mom said, "What happened? Are you sick?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm sick." And that was my first run in with alcohol. So growing up, I was one of 4 kids from my mom. I had 3 sisters. My father was that song "Papa Was a Rolling Stone."
Oh yeah.
That was my father. He had 16 kids by 5 different women. He was in my life, but he was in and out of my life for like the first 8 years. He'd be there for a week, then he'd be gone for a week. Be there for a week, gone for a week. There's a lot of abuse going on in the household, physical, mental, sexual abuse was going on. And, very violent. My father was very violent. And, he did a lot of bad things to my sisters, to myself, and to my mom. He shot my mom, put her in a coma. He was a very possessive, evil man. And he had addiction, and so it was pretty tumultuous, home life. My mom packed us kids up, and we escaped to Florida, and that was when she left them. So
he shot her.
He shot her. Yeah.
Good Lord, man.
Yeah.
You said she was in a coma.
She was in a coma in the hospital. I was young. I didn't remember. I was in foster homes.
Was he sentenced? Was he convicted?
I think he went to a mental institution.
Okay, man. Thank God she's got you out of there, brother.
He went to Norwich Hospital, but I was a little kid, so there's memories, but of like hearing my mom scream in the middle of the night, us kids getting our asses beat, where he'd take our pants down and spank us, and so it was pretty tough growing up, So when we left, we went to Florida, and at that point, we found out that my dad had been abusing my sisters. I had a stepbrother. He was called Frankie Jr., and him and my dad were abusing my sisters, and we had found out. And so, I came from a crazy New Britain family, like a lot of street thugs and stuff like that. So that's who my father hung out with. And so there was some people looking for my father. We were going to kill him, and he took off. And I hadn't heard from him. I didn't hear from him for like 20 years after that, 25 years. So, I was in living with my mom and my sisters. And, my mom, she was a good woman. She loved her kids. But she would get into these relationships with men that were like my dad. And so she was, she'd get bad relationships. And, so I started drinking and drugging, smoking pot, with the other kids in the neighborhood. I was an athlete. I played football. I played baseball. And I played 1 year of high school football. And I got kicked off the team because I got suspended for smoking pot. And, so that was the start of my drinking and drugging. And, a kid growing up with not a lot of nurturing, not a lot of love, went to what the other kids that weren't getting a lot of love, a lot of nurturing in the neighborhood were doing, and smoking weed and drinking. And, that just led to harder drugs. Ended up, dropping out of high school, starting to get arrested. For breach of peace and just dumb shit, fighting. We were always fighting. We would go around, get drunk, and then we would get into fights. And then if we didn't find anyone to have a fight with, we would, get into a fight with ourselves. We'd beat the crap out of ourselves. So that rowdy, stuff we do when we're growing up, and a lot of drugs involved, and then just, graduating to the harder stuff. This kid brought some heroin around, and we sniffed it, and we all puked, and we wanted to do it again, and we did it again, and that started down the road for me, and I fell pretty quickly. I ended up, I think it was about 85, started doing heroin and stuff, and then, graduated to shooting it. And, and then we introduced cocaine, and I think cocaine came before the heroin, because we'd be at a bar and someone, hey, you want a bump? We'd do a line, and, we'd buy like a gram and we'd split it 3 ways, And so, graduated heroin, and that's when, that's the drug that just kind of like, I lived to use and used to live. My life was revolved around that. Started getting more arrests, more serious arrests. And 1990, I was told I could go to this drug program or I can go to jail. And so I went to this drug program, of course, right?
Sure.
And I think I was trying to get on methadone because I didn't want to go to that program. But I said, I'll get on methadone, because now methadone was up and coming, and you could not be sick and get high. So it was a great thing. So I chose the drug program, and what I found out was I did well in structured environments, because I was in jail for like 1 day or something, county jail, and I got out. So I get in this place, this drug program, and I thrive. And within like a month, I'm the chairman of the ward. So I'm in charge of all the people, and I report to staff, and I was the big shot. And so I ended up getting weekend passes. And what I did was had my girlfriend would pick me up, and I had it all playing. Get some heroin, get us a hotel room, and we'll spend the weekend together. So I would do the heroin Friday night, do some coke, and then I would just drink a lot of water. And then Sunday night, she would bring me back. I'd take a urine, and it was clean. So what did I learn, Manny?
You learned how to schedule appropriately not to get caught.
Yeah.
You are
I learned
a
I could
very
get
efficient drug addict.
Yeah, when I got out, I was going to get high on Friday nights.
Sure.
And that's what I did.
After graduating to be top dog in the...
Well, I was the chairman.
Yeah.
And I left, and everybody's so proud of me, and... meanwhile, I had all this inner turmoil, all that shit that anger, guilt, rage, all those emotions that we carry around. We don't know how to express them because we're men. You know what I mean? And I came from, tough men. We don't cry. You know what I mean? So, but I'm a scared little boy. I'm very immature, but I graduated with honors, this program. And I got out, shot dope on Friday night, and then, Friday night turned, you know how it goes. And I got heavier into stuff and started committing more crimes. Now I'm boosting and running from the cops and, assault on the police and all this stuff, and just accumulating all these charges. And when I finally surrendered, I was smuggling drugs to this girl in a program. In jail. She was in jail. This was my running partner. And I'm smuggling drugs to her. I got caught doing that, and because I was trying to get the money to bond her out. Mm-hmm. But I had all these cases pending, and I'm on the street so I get caught doing that, and then I kind of surrendered to it. I'm like, I'm done, because I called the bondsman or something, and the bondsman's like, I'm not going to keep fucking bonding you out, and he's like, no, I'm not getting you out. So he didn't fucking get me. I left me in there, and I ended up getting sentenced. When everything was said and done, I had to go to 5 different courts, and I had about 200 charges. And most of them were misdemeanors, but there were some felonies in there, some high ticket items that we stole, high speed, police chase and shit like that. So I got sentenced to 5 years. The prosecutor said, you want to get all this done? I said, yeah. He goes, all right, I'm going to get all your, and I don't know why this guy did this, but because he used to break my balls. He's like, yeah, you're going this time. And I was on probation, I think. And so he transfers he goes, come back in a month. He transfers everything to New Britain Court. I didn't know how much time he was going to give me. And he ended up giving me 5.5 years. So I go up the way. I go from county up the way. And, I'm getting ready to do my time. And then all of a sudden, warrants start popping up. So I had to go deal with the warrants. Luckily, they ended up adding 6 months to my sentence. It wasn't much, but I had like 5 warrants. I took care of that. But while I was there, I had this spiritual awakening. So I get up the way, and my cousin's there. And now I'm like 30 years old now, and my cousin's 20. And so his name is Mike, and Mike's, he's in jail, but he's still running game and all that stuff. He's trying to get dough. So he had some weed. So I ended up smoking some weed with Mike, and then we end up doing something. We got some money. Oh, I went to court on a warrant, and this guy had his belongings, and in his bag there was some money. So he went out in front of the judge. I went through his bag and I found some money. I got like $100. So I took the money, I snuck it back into the jail, and then I was like, Mike, let's get some dope. So we were going to get some dope, and he went to get some dope. It ended up being bullshit. We didn't get dope. We ended up buying some weed. We were going to become weed dealers in the jail. And I remember I was sitting outside one night. We were in the courtyard and the sun was setting. Now this is a level 2 facility. It's not, So we're sitting there, we're watching the sunset, sitting on a table, and we're smoking a joint. And I remember Mike was talking to me, and it was like, you ever watch Charlie Brown?
Yeah.
You know when the teacher's talking to him?
Oh, that womp, womp,
Womp,
womp.
womp, womp.
We hear that a lot.
And I'm having this like spiritual moment, and I'm listening to Mike, and I'm like, fuck, that's me. That's me right there. Here I am, 30 years old, in jail, doing all this time, and I'm doing the same shit that got me in here. So that was a spiritual moment. I was just like, I'm fucking done. And I made a decision. I was done. And I remember I went back to my cell. I got on my knees and I prayed to God. I said, God, I don't want to live like this anymore. And I just had this, like, I was done. That I was done moment. So I just fucking gave everything to Mike. I said, give me some commissary. Here's everything. I'm fucking done, dude.
That was
like,
that night. The
that was
sunset,
that
night.
The next day, I saw him because I was like putting everything together in my head. And so, I went and talked to the addiction service clerk, and I was like, can I come talk to you? I want, and she was just so like mothering. You know what I mean? I was looking for a mother, and her name was Cherie. I love this woman. She was, yeah. So I started coming there often. Then she hired me, gave me a job as the addiction service clerk. So I would mark everybody down for their meetings. And so her and I got close. And I started opening up a little bit, And then I remember she said something to me one day. She goes, the choices we make dictate the life you lead. So you got to make better choices. And she said, she would tell me, I'm proud of you. And, so I ended up, getting out of jail. And that's where my recovery journey really started. I got out of jail, went to a halfway house, and I was on a mission. I wasn't going back to jail. I was still with that knowing I wasn't going to use again, but I knew I had to do things. I had to have discipline in my life. You know what I mean? And go to meetings. And so I started going to meetings, and I still didn't do that inside work that I needed to work on. I let it out a little bit with her, but I don't trust anybody. It's hard for me to trust people, Manny. And so I ended up going to halfway house, and then I moved out. I ended up moving into renting a room from a guy, got connected with 12-Step Fellowship, and started working, started doing good, and was getting a pat on the back from everybody. Everybody was so proud of me. I ended up meeting a girl, moving back to New Britain. And I remember one of the things was in jail, when I started getting clean, I started dreaming about a better life. What kind of life did I want to have? And I wanted to have a nice girl, live in a nice apartment, and I wanted a Rottweiler. And I met this girl, and her and I got a Rottweiler puppy. And 6 months later, it got hit by a car.
Oh.
Devastated. So her and I went and got another Rottweiler named Cinnamon. And Cinnamon was our dog. Her and I split up. But she would let me, we shared the dog. But I let her live with the dog. We left mutual. I mean, it was a bittersweet type thing, but we ended up
You're still civil.
Yeah. So we shared Cinnamon, and then I ended up, after about 7 years, I picked up again. And it didn't take long to make a mess of my life. And Cinnamon ended up dying during that time.
Oh.
So I got out, and I was struggling, in and out for about 7 years, and yeah, I just had this. I had a spiritual moment. I was, for that 7 years, I was trying to get clean. Went back on methadone. Ended up back in jail for like 45 days. Got out of jail. Stayed clean for about 9 months.
So that 7 years, there was kind of hit, miss, relapse.
Yeah. Because I knew about recovery.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And I was trying to figure it out, and I'd have 3 months. And then,
Okay.
one time I went to the doctor's, I had a cough. He gave me cough syrup. I drank more than I was supposed to, and off to the races. But I knew about recovery.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I think that I don't think I wanted to die. I think I wanted to live. But it was just, I had so much inside of here that I had to work on. I was in a lot of pain. So, I had met this girl, and I was trying to save her. I had like 9 months clean. I went and saved her. I was trying to save her. She was still smoking crack, because we were together for I met her 3 years into my relapse, and her and I got into this relationship. And it was a using relationship. And I would try to get clean. And so she ended up getting pregnant and having a miscarriage, and we were actually trying to get clean, having a good life together. And, I was in love with her. I loved the girl. She was a great person. Just she had a lot of, now she was a full-blown crack addict. And
So a lot of baggage.
when I met her, she had just started. Okay. So, these are the kind of women I attract. So anyway, she had a ectopic pregnancy. She ends up taking off, and I was going to kill myself. So I called this drug dealer, and I said, "Listen, bring me this. I got money." And he brought me about $1,000 worth of drugs, dope, crack, a quarter Jägermeister, And the plan, I was going to kill myself. And this was February 4th. About 1 o'clock, everything's gone. And I'm sitting, and we lived in this nice little apartment it was Lake Quantipoc, and it was in Guilford. And I'm sitting out there, and I'm talking to God, and I'm like, I don't want to live like this anymore, And so I go inside the house, and I get on my knees, and I just say, God, I want help. I need help. And I went to sleep. Next morning, I woke up at 6 a.m. I called this guy who was in recovery, and he was one of those guys, Manny, that never gave up on me. And every time we would stay in touch, but every time I would call him, he would say, "Are you ready?" And I call him, "Are you ready?" Yep.
How many of those calls were there that you, like you said, every time I'd call him? So obviously,
probably about, I'd say 20 over the years, because he always
never gave up on you.
He wouldn't give me money for drugs. But when I was ready to help, when I wanted help, "Are you ready?" Yeah. So at that moment, he said, "All right, pack a bag." And he knew about Deborah, and he said, "Where's Deborah?" And I said, "She left." And he's like, "All right, I'm coming to get you." He came and picked me up, took me to a meeting, called the guy, got me into a sober house, and I was out of money. He paid 2 weeks for the sober house, and he said, "We got this." I went to a sober house, and I've been sober ever since. So I went to a sober house February 5th, 2008, and I've been sober ever since.
No, that's...
So
what's this guy? Do you want to say this guy's name?
He's
If not,
his name is Billy.
Billy.
He likes to remain anonymous, but he's
Billy Anonymous.
I'll tell you his name, the Duke.
The Duke. Well,
so Duke, if you're listening, you're the man, because you picked me up. He picked me up. He had this little MG car, picked me up, took me to the meeting, and told this guy to call this guy. And, here I am 17 plus years later, and fucking unbelievable. I have an incredible life, Manny, beyond anything, and I'm sure you've heard it. You know what I mean? But it's my life. It's my redemption story. You know what I mean? And I'm proud. I'm proud of myself today. I love myself today. I love my life, and I have so much to love and live for.
With everything, the stories that we do here, sometimes they don't end up like this. We hear it, we know it, we lived it, and we're very, very blessed and very, very fortunate to be that way. And
we got God's grace.
We do, and the thing is, I had my last guest. We were talking about how people in recovery. I had a guy one time give me shit. He's like talking about addicts and addiction, and he was basically like, "Well, addicts are weak and selfish," and I mean, he's just every negative word. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, "I deserve this, man. You know what? You got to own it. Everything that I did, until I own it, it'll own me. Until I give in." So he's going on and on about weak and stuff, and about that's how people are. He goes addicts, and then about sober. That he's still just letting it rip. And I go, whoa, wait a minute. Now you're talking about sobriety and recovery. I go, now I'm going to stop you. When you're talking about people in addiction, active addiction, you are right. We are selfish. We don't care about anyone but ourselves. We will steal, rob from people we love, our family, friends. Nothing is off limits what we won't do during
Been
active
there,
addiction.
did that, bro.
Yeah, I go, yeah, tell me
Yeah.
nothing I don't know. However, for you to sit there and try to tell me about people in recovery being weak, let me tell you, the things that you have to deal with every day in daily life, your personal issues, financial, work, kids, everything else, we deal with the same thing. On top of that, we dealing with addiction 24/7.
Yeah.
On top of all these things that you're dealing with. And we reach out and help others. Like Rick, no one would blame you if you all this recovery that you have, if you focus solely on Rick and Rick's life and Rick's family, and that's it, to be happy the rest of your life, no one would blame you for just doing that. But I tell you what, don't know what the percentage rate is, but it's huge. People in recovery, first thing they do is reach down and pick that person up next to them because we know what they're feeling inside, and that's what you are doing.
Well, that's part of it, man. 3 phases, 3 phrases. Find God, clean house, help others. I love that. It's simple because I like simple. I love simple, right, bro? Those 3 phases sum up what recovery is about. Those 3 phrases equal gratitude. You know what I mean? And when you have a grateful heart, you won't drink or drug.
Yes.
And today, bro, I got too many people that count on me. Like I actually have people that count on me, but most of all, I count on me.
Yes.
To not let those people down because that's so important to my spirit. You know what I mean? But I love being able to give back and help people in recovery. And I built a business around it.
Well, I tell you what,
I
know you know this. Our mutual brother, Coach
Tony.
I love Coach.
Can I just say one thing?
Certainly.
Coach Tony, you know that the Red Sox
Oh.
are going to finish in first place this year in the AL East. You know that.
And Coach, by the way, like my hat, he gives me shit all the time.
Yeah.
But in all seriously now, Coach is just an amazing man. He was on this show, I almost sat where you sat, but that'd be a lie. He was supposed to, but we lost power. But he did sit across from me. And
where'd you do it? Here?
We were supposed to, but we lost power. But we ended up doing it remotely at another location.
All right.
And he told me his story, and we got closer and closer and became
powerful.
bonded. And the thing is, this is as far as you. He told me about all these people that he wanted to get together. I wanted to start doing stuff together, collaborate together, and brought up your name, and we started talking. And he was asking who I got a hold of, and of course, everyone that he brought has been amazing. And talking about you, he would not stop. I mean, he went on and on. I just want you to know how much love and respect that man has for you. He would not. I mean, he's like, no, you don't understand. Rick, boom, Rick, this, Rick. It was just like, I can't wait to get this guy on here, man. But I just want you to know how, like you said about being proud of yourself, you should be, because the pride that is just bubbling out of this man about you is phenomenal.
Yeah, bro. Him and I have done some amazing work together. Like we help people, you know what I mean? And it's not about money. You know what I mean? It's about when I live by this philosophy now, Manny, when a person's ready, our job is to be ready. when that person's ready. And recovery shouldn't cost anybody anything to come into recovery, you know? And so Tony and I worked together. We met at an event, and he was like, "You're Rick, you Redemption Rick?" I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Dude, he was just so grateful to meet me, and I was so grateful to him. And, you know, we invited him to the Redemption House, and, you know, we just started helping people. And there's people that we collaborated together on that are just doing amazing things. And I'm sure he's going to get these guys like this kid, Jordan, down in Florida. And he was a mess. Jordan was a mess.
Yes.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
I'm pretty sure the
African-American gentleman?
there's a couple that he's brought up that we are going to be collaborating with. But and that's just it. The people that are coming together, and it's not by coincidence. It's not, and it's meant to happen. But again, for you, man, again, the pride thing, you deserve everything because the pride, it's deserved. Like for me, you brought up something before we started about, I was good I'd talk a good game. That was my life. I'd talk all this shit. And I'll do it tomorrow. Tomorrow never came, man. I would just talk. But Coach, he said, whatever I need. Rick he has never said no to me. He has never said no to,
And
this
him as well,
situation.
bro.
No, back and forth.
It goes both ways. It does.
And
It does.
again, to jump in this with you guys, I said, well, my fight or war, we're on board. And for all you're doing here, because all that you went through, man, and we could use that as a crutch or an excuse. You're not doing that.
Well, I'll expand a little bit more on my story, right? So I came back, and it's like I had 7.5 years. I relapsed for about 7 years, whatever. I don't know the exact dates, Manny. But coming back, I had to take a look at, I don't want to fail again. I'm 43 years old. What am I going to do? Because last time I did some good things, so I knew go to meetings, get a sponsor. But one day it came to me. It's about, this is an inside job. Somebody at a meeting shared, this is an inside job. And, that's where recovery starts. True recovery, authentic recovery, because that's where you start to find out who you are. So you go through the steps, and I did that. And I just met some amazing people along the way. I'll tell you, I'm in that sober house that I went to, right? And so I'm looking for a church to go to. And I found a sponsor in AA, Alcoholics Anonymous. And so him and I are doing the steps. And the 4-step inventory. And there was some stuff on there I was embarrassed. And I didn't trust anybody with. So I walk into this church one day. And there's, I'm looking for a church to go. And I don't like crowds. So I find this church. It's a beautiful church. It's right on the center of New Haven, Center Church. And there was this minister up there, Sandra Olson. Sweet, little, angelic-looking old lady. I'm sorry, Sandra, if you're listening, you're not old. You're a young spirit, and I love you. But she's up there preaching, right? And so there's like 25 people in this church, Manny. And I'm like, okay, so I could sit in a pew by myself because I don't want to be hugged. You know what I mean?
I got you.
And so she's talking about this guy, Lauren. And Lauren keeps going in and out of jail. And she's telling the story about Lauren. She's telling my story. I was Lauren. So at the end of the service, they had refreshments. So I'm over there having a cup of coffee and chit-chatting a little bit. She comes walking up. She says, hi. She goes, what brings you to the church? I said, I'm looking for a church to join. I said, I think I found a church. And I said, oh, by the way, I could help your friend Lauren. She goes, how? I said, I'm Lauren. And she was like, really? What do you mean? And I said, you have time to talk? Yeah. So we ended up talking for like a half hour after that. And I said, you mind if I come to your church on Sundays? And she was like, no. And I said, do you mind if I, come talk to you one-on-one? She said, no. We end up becoming good friends. I end up doing a 4th step with her, told her some stuff I did. And she's been in my life ever since. When I got married, she did my wedding ceremony. She's been to my sober houses, blesses my sober houses. Met my kids, my ex-wife. It's just a big part of my life. I haven't talked to her in a couple of years, and she's been on my mind. So I'm in the habit, Manny, of when somebody's on my mind, I call them. I don't text. I like to use the phone. I like to call. That's why I hate texting. I'd rather talk to you on the phone. You know what I mean? Or meet in person. So she's just one of the intricate people that have been so paramount in helping me to find myself and to heal from all that trauma, sexual abuse, mental abuse, my dad. And, my dad, I have traumatic daddy issues, you know what I mean? Abandonment. So I get clean. And figuring all this out. What does it take for me to change and to have longevity to stay in this recovery this time? And so I figured out that part, started doing the healing, found God, built a relationship with God. And that's just amazing today. My relationship with God has grown so much, Manny. And then, figuring out what I want to do. And so I'm playing sober softball. I meet my ex-wife. And, about 2 years prior to that, I got into this relationship with this girl. And I'll tell you about Rick, right? So when Rick finds a girl, there's a room full of women, 100 of them, right? And they're normal women, okay? And then there's one in the corner in the fetal position sucking on her thumb. Guess which one which one I end up with?
Bingo.
That one.
Yep.
Because I want to fix them, and because it makes me feel like a man. You know what I mean? I want to take care of everybody, So I meet Jess. We're together a couple of years. We get another Rottweiler, Lola. Lola's still with us 14 years. Been with Lola. And the day before our wedding, Jess has this little box, this beautiful little wooden box, keepsake box. It had a Red Sox logo on it, because I'm a big Red Sox fan. And the Red Sox were kicking the Yankees' ass then. That was when the curse got reversed.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
Tony. That's when so she has this box. I open up the box, and we're at the venue where we're getting married. And it's a rehearsal the day before. And I open up the box, and there's 2 pregnancy tests in there. Now here I am, 49 years old, right? Been alone all my life. I'm about to marry this woman, and I'm going to have a baby. We didn't know what we were having. I'm going to have a baby. And I remember the next morning I woke up and I'm looking in the mirror and I'm like, because she slept at her parents that night and I knew she was pregnant. And she was like, after rehearsal, we were going to the rehearsal dinner at my friend's house. And she's like, don't tell anyone that I'm pregnant. I was like, oh. So my friend was there and I said, Jimmy. I said, Jess is pregnant. And he's like, yeah. He said, fucking congratulations. He hugs me. I'm like, Jimmy, I'm fucking scared shitless, bro. I'm like, I don't know how to be a father. And he looked at me. He goes, yeah, you do. Your father taught you everything not to do.
True.
And I'm like, I'm at the wedding venue. We're overlooking the ocean. And he said that to me and the sun's fucking shine. It was just a beautiful fucking moment. But, my life changed that fucking day. And, Jess and I got married. Wonderful person. We got divorced last year. But we have 2 beautiful kids together. And we have a pretty good relationship together. We still fight, but one thing we never did was fought in front of our kids. Never called each other a bad name in front of our kids. Never really even called each other a bad name. And today our relationship is respectful. She's the mother of my kids.
Said to you, you said, I don't know how to be a dad. Yeah, you do, because yours taught you everything not to do.
Yeah,
man.
Yeah,
that's true.
That's powerful, and that stuck with me. And you want to hear something? That guy is my best friend in the world. He just lost his fiance about 6 months ago to alcohol addiction, and she fell and hit her head and died right in her apartment. Now he's living at my house and he's rebuilding his life again. And I love this man, but he's struggled ever since I've known him, Manny. He's struggled. He's been struggling. And I won't babysit him. I won't coddle him, but I'll just be like, Jimmy, when you're ready, I'm ready, brother. We got this.
Sound familiar? Now, are you ready?
Yeah. Yeah.
That guy said that to you. You ready?
Yeah. And so, helping him today is, just another gift in my life because he makes it back. That's up to him.
Yep.
But if he's willing to do the work, I'm fucking right there, bro. I'm with him. I'll go to the mountain. Like God will move mountains, but you better bring a shovel. And I'll go fucking dig with you. Well, you're going to dig as much as because this is your life. I'm not going
to dig for you.
I'm not going to dig for you, but you take a scoop, I'll take a scoop, man, because I love that shit. Because those are redemption stories. So, I've met all these incredible people along the way. And, I just have gratitude in my heart every day, So I get married. I'm in school to become a drug and alcohol counselor because now I'm gonna become a drug and alcohol counselor. But then I get in school, I'm like 52, bro, and I'm getting ready to graduate, and I'm figuring out I don't really want to work in a fucking rehab as a drug and alcohol counselor because I don't like the way that they mandate you have to do. I want to do things my way. You know what I mean? I have a certain style, and so I ended up graduating school. I do my internship, and there was this woman there, and she owned a sober house, and I was a contractor. I opened a contracted business 17 years ago called Leave It to Us Home Services. And our motto was, we do everything you don't want to do. And I just built up a beautiful clientele. And one of the cool things was Lola. When I got Lola, the Rottweiler, she would go to work with me. She was my road dog. You know what I mean? And she would ride with me. And my customers loved her, dude. And I remember one day I pull up and the woman's like, where's Lola? And I said, something happened. I didn't take her with me. And she's like, well, you can't work at my house. She made me go home and get Lola. But I just built an incredible home improvement company, made good money. And so this woman owned a sober house. So I was doing some work for her, and I walk in, and I had been in sober houses before, and some of them were shitholes. Mm-hmm. Some of them weren't nice places. It was all about collecting bed fees. Mm. And so, we talked, and I said, yeah, I thought about opening a sober house. So she called me 3 months later, and she said, you want to buy University Place? And I was like, all right. I didn't have the money to buy a house, but the landlord was leasing to her, and he agreed to transfer the lease to me. And I met him. He was cool, and I said, listen, I'm going to do some work here, because I got in there, and it was she did okay, but the house was a shithole. You know what I mean? It was like mattresses in a hallway and stuff. And I was like, no, man, I'm doing this because I want to change lives. And this is how I'm going to be able to use my degree. You know what I mean? Because I learned a lot. I learned a lot about addiction. And I felt proud of myself because I graduated school with a B+ average. I was so cool with that. And I learned a lot, Manny. So I ended up buying the sober house from her. And we got in there and we did a bunch of work on the sober house. And me and this guy, Steve, he was actually my first house manager. And God rest his soul, Steve has passed on. But he passed on a happy man. He was driving a Harley, coming from a funeral. And that Harley was his baby. He got it. And he struggled a little bit. And so, opened that sober house. And, I had that philosophy, like, I'm not in this for bed fees. I'm in this to change lives, because that's what's going to enrich me, not Definitely. Money, not $200 a week bed fee. Your redemption story is going to enrich my life. You know what I mean, Manny? So, we opened that sober house, and I always thought that if I gave people a nice place to live, they might start caring about themselves. And that's the culture we brought. That's the culture we had. And so we had that house, and, 11 years later, we have 7 houses. We're getting ready to open number 8. And we got we're going on to 120 beds.
That's, what, just the way that you kind of now we got 8. it takes a lot to have one.
Oh yeah, dude.
You have
Yeah.
8 houses, and how long did it take you to get 8 houses?
11 years.
11 years, 8 houses.
And that's not even including other houses that I've opened. I've helped 3 women houses get open, help launch them, and then we let them go.
So here, all of this stuff here that you're doing, and I was just thinking about something you said about you walked into this house that original one she did her best to take care of it, but like you said, it's a shithole. You walk in, and the mattress is laying up against the wall, and you said something else about you want to have people walk in there. Well, if I walk into a place, you are what you're surrounded by your environment, and you walk in, you see an old mattress hanging, or laying on the side of the wall. Just like there was something on about foster kids that when they get this call, okay, now you're going here or you're going there, you got your garbage bag full of clothes, it's instead of luggage. So this foundation, they said, we're going to start getting luggage for these kids because when they go, you put your stuff in a garbage bag. You put garbage in a garbage bag. So these people were feeling like garbage. Well, here, this home is supposed to be a home. Not just like a warehouse, like with a mattress, old mattress laying there. So you created an environment as a home. So man, God bless you, man.
It was a recovery house.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. I mean, sober living is great and everything, but I feel like a recovery house is you're responsible. You know what I mean. You're responsible for your house. You're responsible for yourself. You're responsible for your roommates. And you can create a culture of change and growth, you know what I mean, and wellness. And so, we've been doing this for 11 years. I love the work. But I'll tell you, one of the things that we have to deal with is what do you do with somebody when they relapse, right? So they live in a sober house. You got 12 guys that live in a sober house, Manny, right? One of them relapses, A lot of sober houses will kick that person out. That's the old school way. You know what I mean? And so me and a brother were talking one day about that, and he said, "Man, we need a house when somebody relapses. We could put them in that house. Kind of like a stabilization house,
almost like a step down.
You go. So we ended up opening a house called the Redemption House for that reason. But then what ended up happening? People like Tony, we would meet them. We started collaborating. We opened up a house in 2020 during COVID. And I'll tell you a story about this. This is very spiritual. So Dana and I have this conversation, and, I like to get shit done. You know what I mean? And it was such a great idea. So I said, we're going to open a Redemption House. We got like 30 people together. We met at a diner, first meet, and I said, this is what we're going to do. And everybody said, this is a great idea. So, and this was for other sober houses too. If they had somebody that relapsed, we would hold them at Redemption House, and then 5 days we'll send them back to you, and we'll collaborate. We'll get a new plan, have them sign a behavioral contract. You know what I mean? Because not everybody can get into treatment either. And when you can't get into treatment, you get kicked out of your sober house. You got nowhere to go. Guess where you're going? You're going to the Green in New Haven, and you're going to start getting high again. And too many fucking people are dying.
Yep.
So that was another reason for Redemption House. So we opened up Redemption House, and it was a co-ed house in the beginning, but that was just a hard dynamic. But what ended up happening, for 1 year we stayed open from July 20 to July 21st. I mean, we made it through the pandemic and everything, dude. We were such a well-oiled machine. We got the COVID vaccine to come in. We were getting food delivered from like 5 different organizations. We had one woman dropped off 75 pocketbooks for the women with stuff, with all kind of stuff in it. I mean, it was just such a beautiful thing. We had a grand opening. We had a state senator come through there. His aide came through there, Senator Murphy. And, I thought we were going to do great things. And, it kind of fizzled after about a year. We had to close because we ran out of money. And so we got another grant. We reopened it. But that first year, bro, we admitted 486 people into the Redemption House.
Whoa.
And there's a lot of people walking around today
because of
that house.
Man.
And the ripple effect it had. And so we had to close after a year. And then about 3 or 4 months later, we got a $10,000 grant. We reopened our doors. And then for the last 5 years, we've been trying to figure out ways I got a lawyer, we got a grant writer, we're writing for grants, and not much traction. But what we ended up doing is we've taken that house and turned it into a new beginning house with redemption beds in the basement. So those beds are, you call me, you got a guy. We were able to take them into one of in the basement beds. It's very nice, very warm and friendly. The house is very homey, but the top part is a sober house. That helps fund it. That helps pay for everything.
Gotcha.
So, we have 2 redemption beds. We have 4 redemption beds. We have 6 redemption beds, whatever's needed. And we're so good at churning people out. Like, okay, because it's kind of like a farm system for us. So we get a guy, right? He comes in, has nothing. We call a guy. The guy sponsors him for the first week. So that gives us time to see if he's doing what he's supposed to be doing, right? Help him find a job, get him counseling, get him on his meds, get him med management, get him a bicycle, get him a free haircut. Just building all these amazing collaborations like Anna. See, Anna,
Yep.
Hey, because I knew she was doing something. We'll collaborate with you. So we have unlimited resources. We have a tracking system called One Step. So the app goes on their phone. We're able to know how many meetings they go to. We put on the job board. We have like 35 jobs there, places you can go get jobs. We can get people on methadone in about an hour. We can get someone into detox in about an hour.
That's
so
awesome.
All those resources, and we have redemption beds. Nobody else has them. So we've been trying to get funding from the state. We just put in for a $500,000 grant, and we didn't get it for whatever fucking reason. It was crazy because there was 5 people that voted on it, and we made it. This is the farthest we've ever made it. And one person gave us a 95, which is a great score. 90 is a great score. And one person 63 and a 70. And we're like, well, how come there's such a discrepancy? Don't they have guidelines to follow? But anyways, we're supposed to be going up to Hartford to meet with them, the Demas people. And we'll see what happens.
We'll work it out.
Listen, bro, we figure it out.
Yeah, that's
right?
the thing.
Right? So, I'm a spiritual man, and I've been working to get closer to God. And I do manifestations, visualization. I'm totally into self-care. I have an infrared sauna. I have a cold plunge. I do that about 4 or 5 times a week. I just got stem cell injections. I'm 60 years old. I take really good care of myself. My kids are 9 and 10. I promised them I'm going to live to be 105. So life is going on. So, Redemption House, we're working on Plan B now. So I'm with God every morning, and I read the Word and I meditate, and I've been going to this men's group at Vox Church. Shout out to Vox Church and the men's group on Saturday morning. I love you guys. And so God is really starting to work through me. And he just put a doctor in my life that is his clinic is working with Yale Hospital, and they're doing something pretty profound. They're doing putting you know what trank is?
No.
Trank is horse tranquilizer that they put in the fentanyl now.
Yep.
And it eats people's skin.
Yep.
So they're working on this thing where they put wound patches on them.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're working together with these people, but it's hard because a lot of these people are homeless.
Exactly.
So they need the whole housing component. Well, I have the housing component. Let's work together. Let's build, brother. So he put that person in my life. And then there was this alcoholic priest named Father Phil. Father Phil, he opened up a sober house 5-6 years ago, and he called me, and I went down there. He's like, yeah, I'm opening a sober house, and I heard you were, you're in the business. I said, yeah. He's like, can you come look at my house? I said, yeah, when? Tomorrow. Okay. I showed up, and him and I just connected. And we just had that.
Mm-hmm.
And so he ended up opening a sober house, and then he got cancer, and he's been ill. And then he was at a meeting, and he had relapse too. So about a year ago, he reached out to me. We connected, and then we just kind of parted ways. And I think I asked him to be on the podcast because the podcast was just starting. And shoot, I'm having a
moment,
a Biden. I call him Biden moment. But so he was at a meeting, an AA meeting at his church. He's got a church in I forget what town. But two of my guys from my houses were there, New Beginning. And so he called me. He says, "You've been on my mind. I call you. You've been on my spirit." And I said, "All right, man, let's get you on the podcast." Well, he called me about a week ago, and there's a house that his distant cousin owes some back taxes, and he's an older kid. So we're going to buy this house.
Man, that's
and
awesome.
Possibly work with these other two things. It's still early stages in it, but maybe this is the redemption house. I don't know, but plan B for redemption house is we're going to get a house, we're going to buy it ourselves, we're going to pay for it, and that's my commitment to God, because I want to build wealth. I want to be okay. When I'm 70, I want to have money. I want to have wealth, and I have some cool stuff in my life I'm going to be okay financially. You know what I mean? Because when I came into this way, 43, I laid in bed like, what am I going to do? I got felonies on my record.
You had nothing, man.
All right, felonies on my record. I squandered every opportunity. I gave them away. You know what I mean? So many, and then, here God is blessing me and stuff. So I don't want to leave a mess when I go. I want to leave a legacy for my boys. You know what I mean?
Exactly what
and I want to leave a legacy for New Beginning. Whoever takes it over, I want, oh man, New Beginning, that's a great place. You know what I mean? Because I always say when we're ready to go, Manny, right? We're not going to remember the badass truck. I got a badass truck. I'm not going to give a shit about that truck. I mean, the memories inside that truck and the trips we took,
they'll always be up here.
They'll always be here. But what's going to happen is the people's lives that we touched.
Oh,
and I have so many guys that that I've touched their life. They've touched my life. Because the gift I give to them, I get it back tenfold.
Oh yeah, and then
what I mean.
What you've shown to them, they're given. It's like the gift that never stops because it just keeps being paid forward. That's because of you, man. And that's because of all the stuff. That is awesome, brother. I tell you what, man. This is a beginning of something else too, because not only with myself and with Coach, but now with me and you.
Listen, bro, you're in my proximity. You know what proximity is?
Yeah.
Tell me the 5 people that you hang out with, that you work with, that you collaborate with, and that's who you become.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like the God thing I told you, bro. So I'm reading the Bible every morning. I'm meditating on it. I'm visualizing, doing all these things, and God is just putting all these things into my life, bro.
And the thing is,
you know what I mean? And we're building it. The redemption house thing, that is done. We're going to have a couple redemption houses, one for men, one for women. My girlfriend's going to run the woman one. I'll run the men one. And that's going to be our gift.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To recovery. Yeah. And that house, because of what it does, because you got people stuck, have nowhere to go in recovery. They want to be in recovery, but they got nowhere to fucking go. You know what I mean? And they're 45 years old, or 43 like me, and they just burned every fucking bridge, but they got doors being slammed in their face.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. The door, and that's one thing. What I found out is, you got to let go. And the thing is, it's easy to say, yeah, okay, I'm to that point.
Let go, let God.
Let go, let God. But the thing is, for me, is I was like, yeah, okay. It's easy to say it, and then to do it. And then I started putting stipulations on that. I was like, okay, I'm gonna believe, and I'm gonna have that faith.
Yeah.
And which I, born and raised Catholic, man. That's me. Whatever yours is, God bless you, man. And all of a sudden, instead of I was trying to force things to happen, it's like things started going good. I'm like, there we go. So now they're going good. So I gotta stay on this path. Well, all of a sudden, things started to fall off the side a little bit. Well, wait a minute. No, this is going good. Well, no, now it's getting worse. Well, instead of listening, I was like, I'm going to keep forcing it.
Yeah.
No, you don't force it.
No.
Let go, like you said.
No.
And all of a sudden, things started going. And now, just like Coach, you, Anna, here, all these things, it's meant to be. And, that's why with us and you, this is just the beginning.
Yeah, bro.
This here, My Fight, Our War,
Yeah,
Rick,
man.
and you and Redemption, and with Coach, this is just the beginning. And, this is not a one and done. I always say that to people come on here. So, get ready, because, Rick and Redemption and My Fight, Our War, this is...
maybe we're going to open some redemption houses in Detroit, baby.
Maybe. Why not?
You know what I mean?
If you can dream it, you can do it.
Listen, man, and I know I keep saying this, but God is like into my heart. He's just kind of like things are just flowing through me. I'm just letting things just flow. Let them go. Act as if they're done. You know what I mean? Act as if they're done, because it says in the Bible that ask and you shall receive. And then you need to walk in faith because it is done. I'll tell you this story, right? So 4 months, no, maybe 2 months. I'm in that sober house, right? We got time?
Yeah.
So I'm in that sober house that I went to, and I'm in the basement. You ever see a sober house, like what the basement looks like?
Oh,
most of them look like shitholes. It's a big storage unit because people leave their stuff behind, and it's just nobody cleans it. And so I'm in this basement. I'm working out. I'm trying to work out. I'm about 160 pounds, Manny, soaking wet, and I'm sitting on this bench, and I'm just having a pity party. I'm like, I can't find a job. It's 2008. Everything crashed. I got 12 felonies. Nobody's going to want me. No woman's going to want me. And I'm just like thinking, fuck it. I might as well just go get high. And all of a sudden I see this thing in the corner of this messy ass basement, spider webs everywhere. And I go pick this thing up, and it was green. It was a little green cardboard sign, and it had some white letters on it. And I go over and I pick it up, dust it off. And it had a little quote on it. It said, "Don't worry about tomorrow. God's already there." I was like, okay, all right. And at that moment, I got instilled with a little bit of peace and hope and knowing, like, God spoke to me, because I remember that story when God, there's a flood and you're in your house and God sends a rowboat and you don't take it. No, I prayed to God. God's coming to save me. And then the water's up to your neck and a speedboat comes by and you don't take it. You say, God's coming to save me. And then you're on the roof and a helicopter comes by and drops a ladder and says, come on, let's go. And you know God's going to save me. And then you end up dying and you go to heaven and you're like, God, I prayed to you. You failed me. And he said, no, I sent a rowboat, a speedboat, and a helicopter to save you. So that moment, very, very huge, pivotal moment in my life. Like God spoke to me, like I was praying out to him and he spoke to me, man.
Yeah.
And reading the word lately, like it's just, I've added this next level to be, because there's always more higher levels to go to, but I've just added this next level component to my recovery. And it's like, I have so much peace and love in my heart right now for the world and the process. And, my attitude changed. Like I don't, oh yeah, I'm not getting money from the state. Yes. They suck. And this and that. No, they're just lost.
Yeah.
They're just lost. And they need to listen to people like us, because if you gave us the resources that we need, like we can do this and we could do this, and doing a podcast, you know what I mean? That's going to help the change.
Oh,
the
opening
whole
eyes,
thing.
opening ears.
Just treat people with love and kindness, and not treat them like they're garbage, and they don't fucking matter.
Yeah, the key is to just lock them up, put them away. End of story. It's not cut and dry, and that's why this is just the beginning, man. And with us and what we're going to be doing together, is through the podcast, through distance, from Detroit to here, once we fly out tomorrow, this isn't over. No, man, I'm going to be hitting you up with the StreamYard with our link, and this is going to continue next week. Yeah. So we're going to be doing all this, man. So, Rick, I really appreciate you giving your personal story, and
bro.
Sharing that with us. That's not easy, man, to sit there and put yourself out there to everyone on social media, which is, by the way, the world. So thank you for that. And not only that, but for all you're doing for so many others. It's just amazing. Before we do end this, so people that need to get a hold of you, people that need to, how do they get a hold of you? What platforms? Where do they go?
All right. Before I say that, I just want to say there's a phrase I live by. Mm-hmm. We don't have to, we get to. Mm-hmm. And that right there, that phrase equals gratitude. You know what I mean? These are like gifts that we get.
Yes.
And the more when we receive God's gifts and then we give them back to the world, just more comes back to us, man. and it's that flowing.
Just like what I like
You
now
know?
is you
Yeah,
get what
man.
you give and you get
Yeah.
what you get.
So let me try not to screw this up. Shing
Hey.
shing. I'm going to do my best. So if you have a loved one that needs help, has nowhere to go, you're a parent, a brother, a sister, a son or a daughter, I'll give you my personal number, 203-909-5707. Call me. We have the resources. We will help. We don't say no to anybody, but if that person does call, they need to know that, you're coming to do work on yourself, and we will help you. We'll move mountains. I'll bring a shovel. You bring a shovel. And, yeah. So that's Redemption House. New Beginning Recovery Houses. No, New Beginning Recovery House, newbeginningrecovery.org.
Okay.
That's our website. Check it out if you're looking for a really good sober house in New Haven, Connecticut. A lot of recovery in New Haven. Best pizza in the world in New Haven. But we have a lot of resources, great recovery houses. We've been doing it for 11 years. And then Recovery Mansion on Grand is a new, it's an older sober house, but we reopened it. It's a great program. We have infrared sauna, cold plunge, full gym, pool table, massage chair, infrared, reverse osmosis water filtration system. So you're drinking pure natural water. You can really come there and start to work on your health and wellness. Got that. And we also have a podcast. If you'd love to be on our podcast, reach out to us. Redemption Podcast, Risen from the Ashes. And yeah.
There you go.
That's it, man. I hope I didn't screw it up.
I'll tell you what, though, even if there's something else or if there's something more, everything that you're going to hear about Rick and Redemption and everything else that has to do with that, we are now going to be putting on our page as well because we're family. My Fight on War, all of us,
man.
all different names, all one family. So you don't have to worry about that. Whatever.
I just got one request from you.
Certainly.
I come out to Detroit. We go to a Tigers game.
We go to a Tiger game, and we'll take lots of pictures for Coach Tony. We'll bring you a couple.
No,
Tiger
we'll bring
jerseys.
him. We'll bring him.
We'll bring Tony too, man.
We'll bring him.
Coach, thank you, man. Love you, brother. But Rick, appreciate everything you've done.
Yeah, man.
Everything that you're doing and everything you have yet to do. And more than that, I'm very proud to be part of this with you. This is the new beginning with My Fight or War, Rick and Redemption House. So thank you so much. And again, man, thank all of you so much for your support and everything that you've done along the way. Please follow us. Go to, obviously, on Facebook, Instagram, everything, YouTube, and Netflix. Yeah, well, soon. TikTok. Go to My Fight or War, and especially at YouTube, and subscribe, TikTok, follow. And remember, addiction is only a word. Addiction is not a death sentence. So until then, keep fighting a good fight.